Well. Welcome everybody from around the world to another Monday live market analysis for, of course, the stock market, but also now the crypto market. As hype is back in the crypto world. How many of you are hyped out there for the large bullish to the moon moves? Anyway, we'll be talking about, obviously, today a whole bunch of things. We're talking about stock market as per usual. We're talking about dollar index. Very interesting level, 92. Does anyone say whether that holds tonight or not? It's actually getting pressured right now as we speak. Big implications across all asset pairs from the US dollar. And of course, we've got the outlandish new calls for cryptocurrency this time. Last time, they only went to 200,000. Now we have 300,000 and $500,000 per Bitcoin, which I can say, I will not make that call. But anyway, let's quickly say to everybody around the world, quite a few people joining us right now. We've got Siddharth, we've got Shane, we've got Buzz, Johnny Bravo, Faye, good to see you, Valdo, Kartik, Blockta, Giuseppe, nice to see you. I probably mispronounced your name. Stuart, good to see you here. Gabe, as always, Gravity, and so many others. Thank you, Bahrain, as well. So lots of things to cover today. It's been one of those normal kind of European Asian trading sessions for the stock markets. We've got green off vaccine hopes and news. And we've of course got the Dow Jones, S&P 500 and Nasdaq all up a little bit into the session. What have we noticed most of the time on Mondays? We usually get that kind of hype in, opens, maybe goes a little bit higher. And then we usually say after that 1 hour, about 1 hour, yeah, guys. About 1 hour, we go down a little bit. And then, of course, the close is always the key. And that was the interesting thing for last week. We kept seeing selling from Wall Street into the close. So will they continue to do that? We'll be taking a look. It's actually a little channel on the S&P that we can look at today. So quite a lot of those things. Got a bit of movement here in crude. Silver not doing so well. Now, these are interesting ones. So dollar index is getting bashed again. Gold going down and silver going down. Now, what is that telling us? I think there's quite a lot of punters, let's call them, in gold that are actually pulling money out and buying cryptocurrencies. Let's see if the community agrees with that. Is there, or has anyone out there, or do you believe that people are pulling a little bit of money out of speculation on gold and taking it to the cryptocurrencies? What are your feelings on that? I'd love to hear the community's feelings. A few people here saying just snagged. Johnny Bravo says just snagged a little BTC and LTC over the weekend. Good work, Johnny. If you got those pullbacks as well, let's have a quick look here at the pullbacks on our favorite Bitcoin over here. Did you see the pullbacks right to that 50 exponential? A few times it's come back now. It's like that rocket ship that comes straight off that zone. Ethereum had another very, very nice one as well. Ethereum had a very nice pullback over the weekend, right to the 20 being touched a few times, went through one time here, but yeah, strong rocket ship up there. And notice again, you know that there's retail community involved when the sell comes just before the magical 600. I'm sure some exchanges may have hit 600. Some of you can tell me out there, but 598.36, and then all of a sudden it starts selling off. No coincidence. That is the retail style of trade. Always remember the psychology of the instrument you're trading, one of the most important things about what you're doing. $7.77 coming in with US $4 for a coffee. Thank you very much, Sandola. Always supporting the stream. I appreciate that. Let's go back over some of these questions here. What else have we got going on? We've got to the moon and back again. Absolutely. Stuart says they were predicting insane moon moves on the first swing up. Yeah, quite a few people, I think, have gone with this one, Stuart, being very similar to last time, and then possibly even more in it this time, which does make some sense. Can we do some NEO analysis? Yeah, we can absolutely do some NEO analysis a little bit later. We've got some things to cover first, but we will be looking over NEO and others. Please do remember to put in some of the things that you're wanting to look at. We do look at the biggest kind of currencies, biggest stocks, biggest markets in the world. So if you have one of the big ones that you want to look at, we will look at it together. So let's just quickly go over this Ethereum. Let's just go over these cryptos because I know a lot of people are very excited about these right now. And even if you're not into crypto, it's still a very interesting thing to learn about. And that is the current psychology going on in the markets right now. So basically we have here our strong kind of break through 500. It's going to gravitate to, of course, the 600. And then really what this is signaling to me is it's most likely going to shoot for the 800. Why is that? Well, previously on the weekly, you can see it got to the 800, sold off very aggressively off that point. So I'd be very careful around the 800 based on previous times, because we are due now, based on these big moves here in crypto, we're due for that one epic crash, which we saw kind of through all of that previous run up. Now, this is fake data, I would say. I can't remember what happened on that day in terms of if it ran down that much. But specifically, there was a lot of 20% pullbacks in one day, followed by incredible bull momentums. And if anyone thinks that the first one that comes down isn't going to be met by buying pressure, I think you'd probably be decently wrong. I think usually with the first pullback especially, even if it's 20 or 30% deep, there'll be a lot of buying momentum coming straight back into the pair. So 800 is kind of the target that we're looking for on Ethereum. We're still probably going for that. I feel like that's probably the strong move. And for now, it's just go into the smaller time frames, see how the pair's been trading off moving averages. And once you see, of course, that 1-2 kind of touch where you've got multiple touches of, let's say, a moving average and it finds support, generally it will continue to do that. And if it stops doing that, that could be really the beginning of the fall that's going to be further, maybe that 20 or 30%. Please take a look at Ripple and a few others. Yeah, we'll take a look at most of them. So Ethereum, basically that's the play there. That's the concept, following through the moving averages. Similar on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's probably had its big move right now. It probably will have a second move maybe coming after, let's say, or into Thanksgiving. And then it won't be really the main focus right now. It's already got to 18,000, almost 19,000. It's obviously wanting to get to that 20,000, but a lot of big traders will know that's going to be a heavy resistance with selling pressure on it. So I'd probably say the altcoins are where most of the moves are going to come in now. And if you look at really things like CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin, Ethereum, obviously XRP had a big move over the weekend, 78%. Well done for those people. This was the sleeper last time as well. I almost mentioned it on last week's video. I almost brought XRP up. I don't even know much about the deals, but it always sleeps. It likes to sit in that accumulation channel, and then it came out all gangbusters. Litecoin as well was one that I think got up to about 360 last time in the big boom. You know, whether I think these are worth money or not, look, I don't really know, but they are definitely trading instruments, and that's what I see them as. I see them as trading concepts. I remember most of these coins. It's pretty much been most of these coins for a long time. Chainlink's really the one that's come into the top 10, and Polkadot, I don't know what the hell that is, but I'm not even going to tell you I know what that is because I don't. But yeah, most of these have been here for quite a while in the top list. I saw Monero may also be losing its anonymity, so that could be interesting, as in it might not be the private coin anymore. Stellar also been around, another one that's had a very strong performance. So follow the moving averages in these aggressive bull trends and be prepared at any time that there could be a 20% plus kind of crash. Well, let's call it a mini crash. Stuart says, do you invest in Bitcoin, Tom? Not really. I have like very small positions. I did do it a bit in 2017 when it was really wild. That was the Wild West. But I specifically kind of targeted a few altcoins back then. There is money to be made, but for me, it was always in and out. I had a plan, and that plan was based around human psychology. If you've watched the video I put out on the weekend, I talked about the Google trends. I talked about the public holidays and what that meant. I talked about the psychology of everyone kind of finding out about it and the hype train. We're going back into hype train. You know, things that I think are important. Chinese Lunar New Year in the world. It's an important time. Generally, a sell-off event occurs around that period in cryptocurrencies. It's been pretty consistent too. So I'd have a lot of timings that are based around before that event and then after that event, what I was going to do next. I guess I think of it as human psychology really for this stuff. Sendola says, Tom, what about collateral Bitcoin stocks such as Mara or Riot? Are those key when Bitcoin rises? We didn't see much of the kind of I guess you would say those kind of things moved last time. But it is becoming a point where if you really believe in these kind of coins and this technology, there's going to be a whole bunch of great indices and stock ETFs and all the types of things to target them. So I haven't done enough study into it. I still believe it's kind of like that beginning of the process. It's still fledgling, really. It's kind of like the dot-com boom, really. But when we start to see a lot of stocks moving even heavier into it, I'm very interested. So let's begin this analysis. Let's talk about dollar index. I'm very keen to talk about dollar index because 92 is the key zone. We have hit the key zone into this live session. I know this isn't going to get as much interest as a lot of other people have, but dollar index 92, what does this mean? Well, this is such a significant support zone. We saw over here when it hit, bounced off it. It got a little bit under here, so it has been prone to a little bit of a fake out like we got here, but then it still bounced off that zone. And then really what I'm looking at is if we get a close under this area, I think it probably will trigger further selling. We know that the Fed technically want weak US dollar, and then we're going to trigger down most likely to this next level of support, which is also resistance. And this is all here on the weekly DXY. Why does this have a lot of impacts? Well, the lower the dollar goes, obviously there's a lot of trade reasons for that. It's also that the Fed wants this to happen. They really do want, it's a race to the bottom in terms of currencies around the world. Even in Australia, we've started monetary policy just purely in many ways to keep up with the devaluing of every other currency. And you can still see our Australian dollar is strengthening versus the American. So stimulus packages, further bailouts, all of those types of things are going to help devalue the dollar index. And realistically, that is part of what is the main goal in America right now. They kind of want to do it. So there is that inherent built-in devaluation going on right now. On top of that, the price action is kind of presenting. So I think this down here presents bullish kind of concepts for the stock market generally. Maybe not just yet, but generally it does. Euro US dollar as well, and pound US dollar and all these other US dollar denominated pairs should be showing strong bullish momentum. And if we have a look here, look at this important zone on the euro. Look at this, nobody closes recently above this 118 kind of 70. We're about to see all these little wicks, which is really important when it comes to price action and thought process, be possibly closed above on the daily at the end of course, the US session. I think this is very significant. This, of course, is going to be in line with the dollar index. The euro is the most heavily weighted against the dollar index, and therefore they should do it at the same time. But stay tuned for all of these types of things. If you're not even a currency trader, currency is one of the best places to learn technical analysis. You get a lot of great opportunity and a lot of great setups. So we'll go back over to the room here. A whole bunch of other questions coming in. Burn says, me too, would not invest but trade, but XRD has an interesting chart pattern. Maybe it breaks the 0.5. Yeah, we'll definitely look at that one as well. $10 says, very nice, attention to detail. Sid, I'm assuming it's some question here. Siddharth says, I think it's about the donation. Thanks very much for the subscriptions, by the way, out there. I do appreciate that. We've got a great community growing, and I think we've just reached over 26,000 people, so that's amazing. Considering where we were at the start of this year, phenomenal how much you guys have supported us. $7.77 says, I was at the New York City during the dot-com boom, crazy times. It was phenomenal. I obviously was not, I was too young at that point, but I've studied it a bit. Phenomenal times, crazy psychology. People buying stuff based on nothing at all. In some ways similar to some altcoins. I traded an altcoin last time, and I remember I was telling someone today about this. I was watching this video, and it was a video of them telling everybody how great the coin was. And it was like watching one of those, it's like a scam really, or a pyramid scheme. And they all came in and they've got their hands up and they're singing the music and everyone's like so excited. And I'm thinking, what has this got to do with technology? But anyway, what happened? Went up huge and then of course crashed down to almost nothing. All right, so Euro US dollar, all correlated to dollar index. Let's have a look around the broader markets now in terms of what's going on our little kind of sheet here. So we've got here, of course, Nasdaq top left. We've got the S&P 500. Notice here, guys, and we'll look at this in more detail in a minute. Look at this. Look at this really little support through here through the 35.50 kind of 35.48, and we've got a pretty strong resistance 35.86-ish. Very interesting. It's actually a channel on the smaller time frame. It's actually a channel here on the SPY. So I would say it's worthwhile drawing up these levels in trading sessions. It certainly is trapping between those two zones. And then of course the Dow, again, this is just going down a little bit, but this is a very small time frame. So if we change that back over to the hour, pretty much resistances across the board. Notice again, very, very similar as the S&P. We're really trapped within some areas here. Let's go down to the 1 hour on the US 100. US 100, not as easy to see the kind of pattern. There's clearly a great support here, which we'll talk about, the 11,800. So maybe we're going back to 200-point ranges, but not just yet. But the 11.8 holding here on the 1 hour. And these are all the futures contracts. Usually I don't like futures levels, but I think these are a little bit too hard to ignore into today's session. Getting a little bit of a sell-off as well here from that almost touch on 600 from Ethereum. And I am sure at one point soon we are going to see a 10 to 20% day off on those cryptocurrencies. It's the nature of the way they play. Gregor says, silver and gold falling along with DXY. Your thoughts? I kind of mentioned at the beginning and I asked the room whether they thought it was similar, Gregor. And that was that to a degree, silver and gold have a lot of speculation on them. The speculation comes out of Asia. It comes obviously out of usually leveraged asset. And that leveraged asset, I believe a lot of it actually was held, or at least a significant portion was held by retail traders. I actually feel like a decent amount of it is floating into other contracts within cryptocurrencies right now. I know a few people that have closed positions in gold and silver, and these are smaller time players, but you know, everything counts, 40, 50, 60,000-ish dollars, $100,000, and they've moved them into leveraged cryptocurrency. So it's just an interesting phenomenon. That could be part of it. I'm sure there's other things at play. But usually, yeah, these were to extended assets. I still have a pretty good feeling about silver. I think over the kind of medium term, I'm pretty bullish on silver still. But when you bring silver up on a chart, let's look at it right now. Take a look at the weekly. You know, it was very extended. It went down to $11.69. Obviously, that's an overextension to the downside due to fear, and then an incredible recovery. And really, it's just holding this weekly 20 exponential right now. It's not doing anything. It's in a holding pattern. Gold's the one I'm more concerned about, because when you look at gold, it's starting to get under that 20 exponential, and it's got a lot to fall under this. We've talked about this, at least $50. It gets under $18.50, it's most likely going to go to $1,800, and then there's no real market structure resistance to all the way down to $17.50. So there's actually $100 off in gold that could happen quite quickly. But I'm still bullish over the medium term. Generally, I think in crisis periods, gold and silver will still, basically hold the test of time in terms of bullish sentiment. But right now, the heat is on cryptocurrencies. And again, I was talking about this. Has anyone noticed a familiar pattern this year with people moving through different instruments? Initially, everything was about stocks. Then it was all about EV. Then it was all about calls and options and puts and everything like that. Very, very heavy on that area. Gold and silver at the same time. Super bullish movements, as we see here. Now it's cryptocurrency. So there's a lot of big money moving through, and this is due to the younger generation getting involved. Every $10,000 account they have, unprecedented amounts of money flying in and out. And even if it's getting diminished every single time a little bit by bigger traders taking some of it, they just keep piling in. People are actually saving heaps of money and just putting it all in on stocks, currencies, etc. Very, very interesting. All right, so certainly send in a few stocks that you want us to look at. We always like to do a bit of pre-market analysis and pre-weekly analysis. Let's begin by taking a look at this NEO chart. So Neo is on the rocket ship to the moon. Still very, very popular, this one. So even here, if we have a look, it's really not come down even to the 20 exponential. So the 20 exponential was holding it pretty well. You can see here, a lot of buying pressure. We haven't actually touched it in quite some time. I'd still expect that when it comes down to the 20, there will be a little bit of buying pressure. It's not as much of a great discount as it was going to be at this point. But yeah, this 20 exponential is still holding Neo up. I think that that's still going to be the key zone that you want to follow it by. If it closes below the 20 exponential, especially underneath these kind of little bits of support that should add here, that's going to be significant. I think we'd see a further sell-off at that point, at least down to possibly these previous highs. And we'll figure out what that is. Previous high is about 30 bucks. So it's on the rocket ship right now. Let's go down to the 4 hour. 4 hour 20 has been the one that's holding it recently. Notice how it changed. It was basically a different moving average, and then it got even more aggressive. And when it gets even more aggressive, often that's the end of the run. What did we see with Bitcoin? Look at this. 50 exponential was the pickup, and then it changed to the 20. So the 20 here, and then it started hovering around. And this could be the end of that initial kind of bullish kind of to slight bearish market. Bitcoin traders do not want this thing under 17,500. You do not want it under there. A close under 17.5 would trigger further selling. And I would put alerts here, you know, never discount the fact that if you want to get into crypto and you're bullish on it, or any of these things, Neo as well, that you put in landmine alerts for markets having incredible adverse reactions. And if you're not there, you at least can then get your mobile alert. You can use TradingView for that. You can use AlertFX for some of them. You can use whatever your trading platform is. America has amazing trading platforms. Webull, all the others out there. And you can definitely get access to those. So for Neo right now, it's looking bullish. Obviously, it's making a series of higher highs and higher lows. Very, very important. And when it starts to break under those previous troughs and make a new lower low, that's when you need to be very concerned. So something like this. Comes down, finds some support, buys up, makes a lower high, makes a lower low. From a price action standpoint, that is bad. That is no. We don't want that. So basically, that's what you're looking for the bearish kind of movement. You're seeing that sequence. When that sequence happens, what we call the lightning bolt, you want the lightning bolt not happening when you're in a very strong aggressive trends. A little bit of food for thought there. So let's have a look again just around some of these other markets. We'll click on Forex quickly here, have a look at what's going on. Most things strong against, of course, the dollar, and all the dollar pairs denominated here weakening further. Crypto overall green right now, but this resets all the time. So you can see XRP, which we'll look at in a minute. That has been, look at that XRP versus everything. Very aggressive runs. Obviously, notice it hits that 0.5 level and then it starts selling off a little bit. That's the important psychological, XRP psychological. And just like stocks, remember these things are all trading very, very similar. So if we think about a stock that's heavily dominated by retail traders, excuse me one sec, by retail traders, then that is going to be one of those stocks that is going to trade to round numbers and stop just before. Stops just before 50 cents, no coincidence, has that initial sell-off. That's where the weak hands get taken out. For all the crypto guys out there, the weak hands get smashed. And then, of course, we go back up and hopefully breach that 50. So with this one, all I'd be looking at is previous history of where it stopped. That is the main thing. Now, actually, it ran like crazy last time. Let's go that weekly. So when it came out of its holding pattern, it went nuts. XRP went absolutely nuts. This time, we've gotten above this 30 cents. That was the trigger. Resistance, resistance, resistance. A little bit of wicks, no body close, and then bang, straight out. Fills the zone all the way to the 50. And then where's it going to go to next? The 60. Because that was previous resistance over there, and then probably just before the dollar. So somewhere around 95. So there's only really 3 key zones that you're looking at here. It's probably going to be the 50, which it just reached, the 60, because previously it was, and people will pay attention to that. Notice it also bounced off the 60. And then the next zone just before the dollar. And then after that, possibly the crazy run. Look at the rest of the market at that point. Some crazy people might also think it's some kind of inverse head and shoulders as well. Not sure I'm willing to call it that, but some people would. I have seen it in analysis. Thanks for the subscriptions, by the way, guys. Appreciate that. Just reading through some of your questions here. Johnny says, I'm saving physical coins just in case they do away with money. May melt them, melt them down, the copper pennies. Yeah, I really hope they don't get rid of cash. You know, how many of us learnt about the value of money through cash? I really do not want to see money get taken out, as in physical. It may do, but I hope it doesn't. Shane says, Buzz, China is opening up copper futures contracts in yuan. Yes, this will be the decade where you'll see a lot of futures contracts, a lot of opening markets in China overall. And of course, they will start to try to really own that sector. So let's go over our S&P 500 analysis here. So this is the S&P 500 futures. And as you know, I'm not a huge fan of trading futures because they're futures and there are a lot of fake moves in them. But we do have a very nice little support here through the 35.50 kind of zone. And you can see, again, what's the price action around this? So this is the 4 hour. And a lot of people say, why do you use the 4 hour all the time, Tom? Why do you like the 4 hour or an 8 hour or, you know, daily? Well, it's because predominantly I like swing trading. When I'm trading, I am a fan of swing trading. Swing trading has been kind of crap. I'll be honest, it's been crap for the last month. Much more difficult than normal. You've had to actually go day trade and, of course, scalp a little bit more because of the aggression of the moves. But actually, swing trading is the easiest and it's the best if you're a part-time trader. If you're working and you're trying to trade, swing trading. I'll keep saying it. Swing trading, swing trading, swing trading. It is the easiest. It's so calming and nice compared to, you know, the high adrenaline pumping kind of day trading scalping, but yeah, it's worthwhile. And that's why I like the 4 hour. It's one of the best signals for that. So the thing here with market psychology is a lot of people think of this as, oh yeah, I've got a 35.50 level. But what they should be really thinking about is look at these wicks. Look at how the market rejects these zones, guys. This is sweet. When it rejects these zones, what it's telling us is there's lots of buyers here and they're super hungry to buy this level. So this means one of two things. Well, firstly, they're super hungry to buy this level, but it also means that let's say it turns here. It could turn for any reason. Vaccine's not as good as they hoped. Something crazy. No reason at all. Who knows? But when it does come down, if it ever breaks this level now, it's actually more likely to be a not a fake break. And that is because when it goes through and it closes below, what it's telling us is lots of hungry buyers over here. Now sentiment has changed and it's closed below there. Whatever that sentiment change is, the buyers got absolutely destroyed. And that means we then trigger to the next zone, the 35.20. And it's very likely to trigger to that because of the dynamics of the bullish aggression. I cannot state that enough. Understanding these wicks, understanding the battle that goes on in each and every single candle is the changer that changed, I guess, my psychology in the market from being what I would call pretty bad to much better. And you're never, ever really great. I might be better than some, but you're never absolutely exceptional. When you think that you know the markets and you're the best, you get dominated. I'm sure a lot of people have been there. You feel good about your system and then you keep doing it and then all of a sudden you get dominated. So never get too arrogant. You will get slapped down by the market pretty fast. I'm sure we've all been there as well. So US 500, 1 hour is where I'm at. I'm getting this 35, kind of 85 reading up here, which we're starting to put pressure on ahead of the market. and this 35.50. I'm more interested in the 35.50 just because I like kind of the dip zones, but also that market dynamics of the bullish buying pressure. That may sound like a bit of a rant, but I think it's a very important lesson. Did I miss Sandollar's donation then? Sandollar77, another $4 American. Thank you very much, Sandollar77. Appreciate that, mate. I may have lost some of those alerts, unfortunately. So thank you very much if I missed that one, man. People want me to look at Baba. I'll write that down as well. So I'll definitely put Baba down. We're going to look at Apple. We're going to look at Baba. We're going to look at a whole bunch of stocks as we always do together. But that's my analysis, and that's the thought process that goes into every single candle. Meowdy says, if you look at the futures of the SPX 500, last red candle didn't have a wick though. It was a body close. So if we go back over to that 4 hour and we're talking about this one here, there's still a bit of wick buying off that level, man. If you're talking about the red candle here, maybe different data. Remember, 4 hour can be different depending on the area you're getting it from. But still, buying pressure coming off. The more wicks you see off a zone, especially if you see it like this, the more likely the buy zone is going to be great as well. We saw that with, of course, crypto and Bitcoin at 10K. I keep talking back that one. Go look at 10K. Have a look at a daily. Easy time frame, beautiful time frame. Lots of wicks off the 10,000. Can we look at the Nasdaq? Yeah, of course. We'll look at Baba as well in just a moment. So Nasdaq's a bit of a different case because Nasdaq's getting a lot of revaluation. The reason it is doing that is because we're seeing these vaccines being more supposedly effective, and possibly we've got a good solution here moving forward. Now, what does that mean? Certain stocks are getting punished for that. Some of the ones that are notable, of course, would be Zoom Video. What's pre-market down the most today and has really fallen quite a lot from grace. I mean, this was up a lot higher and then, of course, has come right down to that kind of 418 potential area, and it was a bit higher before. So 439 right now, and Zoom's getting punished because of that reason. Now, some others are getting revalued in as being more beneficial. That's why you're getting this chop coming on the Nasdaq. My thoughts are probably 11.8 I would have as a support. I'd be very, very keen on that. And then, of course, 11.6 is the super buy zone. So why is it the super kind of buy? Well, it was over here, which we kind of thought it might be. And then over here, we have a lot of resistances that come off that zone. But notice here as well, heaps and heaps and heaps of wick buying. This is kind of what I'm getting at. Close below, a little bit of buy, and then bang, straight through. It also found resistance again at this point. So 200-point averages seem to be the big gap fills on the Nasdaq. And I'm thinking under 11.8, well, 11.8 could be buying. Underneath 11.8, 11.6 seems very likely. Unlikely to stop before the 11.6. And then, of course, underneath 11.6, I think we're in a way more significant downtrend, back down possibly even to the 11,000. From the upside perspective, I'm probably looking more at the S&P 500 to lead the way here, as I usually do. And we really need to make a very significant bull run, as in, like, I want to get above at least 12.1 here, above these resistances, above this one, before, you know, you're going, okay, this thing's really got legs, it's going to 12.4. In here, it's a lot of noise. A few people asking about QQQ. It's not actually one we've got a lot of requests here because I know people trade it a lot. And the question is about the daily. So I'm not too... If you're looking into this really heavily, if you're talking about like a lightning bolt from a peaks and troughs, you could break it down and understand each candle. But you would probably need to see pretty significant moves here. This isn't really what I'd like to have. Usually you want fairly clean, like a trough, a peak, high trough, and then a higher peak. In the downside, obviously something like that. So really underneath this level down here would be the significant break. You'd also be getting through a 50 exponential, on the daily, and this would be the significant kind of trough break. Shalepo says, "Hello Tom, enjoying your work. Thank you. Can you please look at Gilead?" Yeah, we can definitely do that. So we'll look at Gilead. Obviously, a few of these stocks have come into focus and been very popular, and some of them have had big runs on them, followed by sell-offs that have been kind of brutal. So let's have a look here at this particular stock, and we'll talk about where is this actually correct. So it's down this far now. Wow, it's fallen from grace. This hasn't been a stock we've covered for some time. Okay, so that was the initial kind of run where everyone was really, really hyped about it. And then, of course, it got that bad news the other day as well, didn't it? So you can see why it stopped here, though, yeah? This is why it pays to look at weeklies. Look at this. The previous resistances act as resistance again. And for anyone that says TA doesn't work or anything like that, this is just basic human psychology, and that's why some of these things work. Self-fulfilling prophecies, that's why the resistance is there. Look at this zone, this little kind of $2 range. I would have been taking profit there all day. You'd be mad not to. But anyway, where is it now? So if Gilead comes up, where do we think it stops? I'm going to say ask the room. Well, actually, I can't anymore because I put it down here. But that is that we go to probably around a 63 on the pullback. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to get a pullback. We're very far away from the 20 exponential on the weekly. I think Gilead could come up regardless of market conditions. The 20 exponential moving average will most likely intersect at the same point. Very common occurrence, by the way. If you're looking at this, a very common thing for it to happen. And then it will probably find resistance here and then sell off a little bit. Possibly test another bottom low. If it gets through this 63 kind of area, and I draw a range here, because it's not an exact science on these levels of these lows. So you draw this range of about $2. You'd be very focused on this range. And when you're focused on this range, if it gets through and closed above, bullish on the pair to 69 kind of 50. If it stays here and sells off, bearish on the pair down to 57.50. There's a lot of little strategies here that will go on depending on the way it deals with this particular level. In terms of is there further downside risk? Well, it broke a heavy, heavy support. Very bullish move years ago now on this stock. Uncharted territory now, it's under this zone. I would expect the pickup. But there is no market structure here. So all you're doing is you're going down to smaller time frames. You're looking at how it interacts with certain moving averages. And if you're wanting to short it, you're just finding a common occurrence and then constantly taking it. I don't have one here, but I do think that it should pick up back into the 63. Do some Baba? Yeah, we'll look at Baba. Baba's only become popular like the last couple of weeks as well. Maybe last month we started talking about it. So Baba has continued to decline, probably based on all of the problems also with the Chinese government and interference in this particular stock. So Baba's going to have a really tough time here at 280. Why is that? You're going to have a double moving average dynamic, and we're at 274 today pre-market, so we're up a little bit higher. And this is a common kind of thing as well when you get a cross of moving averages. The daily significant cross, by the way, 2050 has not really, it did a little bit of weird stuff in here, but overall it hasn't really moved since the crisis. So this is a significant area. It'll pull back into this zone, and let's take a fib. What I like to do with these, if I'm looking at the level and saying, okay, is this going to be an important zone? Take that fib retracement, guys. Chuck that in there. What do we know about good retracements? 50 fib, 38 2 fib. Draw that little range. Put your alerts on the bottom and the top of the range, and then find other reasons around that area. Wait for the smaller time frame lightning bolt, the smaller time frame double top, all those types of things. The price action. And then if you're wanting to short it, that's what you're looking for. Bulls, you need to get through that zone. It's going to be tough. I would expect, again, pull up, some resistance, come down. Now, if it comes through here and then find support again, could be a good little area for you to maybe buy some accumulation. And of course, if it ever gets through that peak, you'd be thumbs up, yeah. If I was on camera right now, I'd be like giving you the thumbs up because that would be a very, very nice pattern to get through and then back to the 320. It's just recognizing key zones, and when those zones break, it becomes highly statistically likely you'll be correct. When you break this zone, highly statistically likely you hit just below 300. Why is that? Because there's a little ascending triangle. Take that range predicts probably to about here, but market psychology at the time would dictate just below the 300. So it's predicting very likely moves after a close happens at above a key point because it's psychological and it fills that area. All the hype, all the anticipation, everyone piles in, pushes it to the level, and you don't want to be the one holding it at the end unless you've got a long-term plan. Paul Pham says, thoughts on the ASX? Yeah, we need to look at our ASX. I always do this for the Australian traders out there. If you're not actually looking at other markets as well, you should be. If you're only looking at the American market, well, that's it's kind of limiting, I think, in some ways. But the American market's the best one to look at. So the ASX 200 has benefited heavily from Reserve Bank, government intervention, crazy budget, lots of money, lots of stimulus, and a whole bunch of other things. So right now we're on a pretty big rocket ship. We actually did something that I consider relatively bullish as well. Quite a lot of you would know that if you have this type of candle here, like a little kind of shooting star candle, and you close above it, and I guess, like, you know, I wish this was more convincing for more bullish movement, but look how crappy these closes are. What is this? Little long leg dojis and indecision candles and stuff. But I actually, if this candle here was like, you know, like that, and you fill that in, it would be very bullish. At this point, it's kind of losing steam. It's going to run completely off the American market. But my thought process is it had a great run. I've got alerts set all over this 6220. It's like little Tom alerts sitting here, little Tom alerts sitting here. I love that area. I will wait. I'll probably be pretty patient. Obviously, we're positioned in anyway. But yeah, look, it's just kind of grinding higher. And the only thing I can tell you is the moving averages here on the 4 hour, it's grinding higher off this little 4 hour kind of 20. It's touched it twice to my kind of reckoning, but I think it's losing steam. It's just not going, it's grinding very, very slowly. I think it is due for a pullback. The week after Thanksgiving, generally a bad week. So I'm kind of betting on that this year. I'm betting on the concept it's going to come down a little bit and give me that zone to take some of the moolah and possibly redistribute it. Charanjit says, hi Tom, can you please look at Tesla? We certainly will be looking at Tesla. But yeah, my thoughts on the ASX is I'm very bullish on it longer term. I think we've done a pretty good job here. This was an amazing break, amazing move. I wouldn't be surprised at all to hit 7,000 by, you know, not that long into next year. But I do think a little pullback would be nice. Kind of hit that first zone. If you look at the daily as well, you know, we're kind of reaching a little bit of previous resistance support structure. It's not that clear, but it's certainly barely grinding up. So we've got some others coming in here. We've got Square. We'll definitely look at Square. I want to look at NVIDIA as well. I just want to have a look at that stock for some reason. I'm also pissed at NVIDIA because they're not sending me my card. Anyone out there in the chat, do you have a 3080? Who has a 3080 or is on back order for the 3080? Let me know. In Australia, I went cheap. I went with the, everyone would know, it's like PLE. And my goodness, you cannot get them. I don't really need it, but, you know, why not? So Tesla, Square, we've got that. Grub. Netflix, yeah, I want to look at Netflix. I do want to look at Netflix. Microsoft, yeah, we can do that. All right, I'm using the pen. We've got the pen out. So we're going to look at Netflix next because I want to look at this pattern, see if it's still playing the game here on Netflix. It certainly is. Starting to weaken a little bit here, but this is good. So pretty strong support on Netflix. We talked about this one quite a few times. It's been a buying opportunity for us recently where we could get in, have some nice little intraday trades, a couple of bucks up, which is nice. So we remain kind of sitting around this 468, 470 zone for buying potential in what is relatively a channel now for Netflix. Now, it is making a series of one concerning thing, but I guess you can kind of say it isn't anymore. So that was that it continued to make a series of lower peaks. So here's a scenario. It's going to show you a scenario. And this scenario is really, really cool and obviously is kind of like a descending triangle. So often you'll get like a market that will do this. And what's actually significant about this is, well, yes, it's a pattern, but the real significance is that it's making a series of lower peaks. So each time the buyers get control, remember, it's the psychology of the market that's super important here. We are not being able to push as high. So right now, Netflix is kind of, trying to make a little higher peak here above this previous point. We're at a 492 on the pre-market. So we're getting very, very close. When it does that, it's significant because even if it came down then, well, the market has been making a random amount of peaks and troughs, not exactly always lower peaks. If it's always lower peaks, I get very scared about buying the pressure down here. But if it's making higher peaks and random peaks and all sorts of things, less scared about buying the pressure down here. So for me, Netflix, it's all about this zone, and it's all about making a little high here, even if it is to come back down to this zone, because of the series of disjointed, no real lower peak, that kind of thing. Pretty bullish on it. I think it's good there. Amazon also requested. I'll just type it in because whatever. Let's bring that one up again. Bring up Amazon. There we are. So Amazon, I think this stock could suffer a little bit. I've been kind of bearish on consumer discretionary. Consumer discretionary. And I guess it's just about stimulus. Like long term, you've got to be bullish. But again, I want to see stimulus. And it isn't getting it. And that's why the market's starting to pull the trigger on getting out of a few of these things. Again, support 2950, 3000, both very key levels. 3000, just that psychological buy. It's only trading at pre-market 311 now, so not that overall crazy high on this one. Pullbacks, yeah, they look to be bought. I don't necessarily like what's happened just recently, but there's no series of really lower peak. Like say again, down here, lower peak. Let's say that didn't go up here and it got here and then came down, that and then did it again and again and again. It'd be way more bearish on this. But we don't have a good trajectory here on Amazon. I wouldn't look at it at this stage. Liam Mentha, $10. Thank you very much, Liam Mentha. Hi, Tom. If the market was to have another 30% drop, what's the riskiest stock you would be willing to pick up and why? Or if it's easier, what do you have your eyes on? Okay, so it's a very interesting process. And of course, if we had a 30% drop in the market, it's a good question, by the way, Liam. If we had a 30% drop in the market, not all stocks would drop equally because it depends why it drops. If it drops because of some crazy credit crunch due to way too much over leverage, well, I guess we could bet that that would be hitting a whole bunch of, it depends where the leverage is, but most likely banks will get threatened again, all of those types of things. Now, I wouldn't buy into the banking sector, that's for sure. I do not have long-term goals there. So you'd want to be setting some extreme long-term glorious positions that you can hold and never sell and take advantage of, therefore basically not paying tax on them. So for me, I would probably be targeting superior growth stocks because I think growth stocks should get absolutely crushed during that kind of drop because value won't get dropped as much because it's already low. So I'd definitely be targeting growth. Growth, no question. Which section of growth? The easy answer is probably something like like tech. I'd probably go disruptors. And I would go with strangely enough, probably ethical investments. So ethical growth stocks. Yeah. That would be the sectors that I'd be going with. Things that are ethical. Now, I don't necessarily only invest in ethical investments or anything. I just target it because I think governments will award more contracts to them. So it's been something I've been doing for a while now. It's been paying pretty good dividends. It's a good idea. But I do think that they'll get beaten up. So I'll probably go with those ones. And I certainly would not be targeting any old style businesses. So the IBMs, no. I won't target any of those things. Only new startup kind of things, more targeted towards ethical, and they have to have already been in a massive growth curve where they're so overvalued right now, it's crazy, and they're falling more. So that's probably the best question I can ask for you, but I won't be probably traditionally buying EV like a lot of people would be. Thank you very much for that one. Okay, so let's go over some of these other stocks. So we've done Baba, we've done Neo. If you wanted to look at those, go back, scroll through. We've done Netflix. And we've now got Square. So let's take a look at Square. So Square coming up to the psychological. It's actually going to break the psychological. It looks like, well, at least test it straight into resistance here, 202. So this particular stock is unstoppable. It barely has pulled back. It didn't even touch the 20 exponential here. Would have touched maybe the 20 simple. I'm not sure. On the, shouldn't have. On the weekly. If we go to the daily, not too much to note here on Square other than it's finding resistance. It hasn't even necessarily been like really testing a certain moving average on the way up here. There's no rhyme nor reason technically for this one. It just keeps buying off dips. And it seems to have like some very strong demand in it, because what you'll notice is it doesn't come back correctly with the rest of the market. It'll often do its own kind of thing. So for now, I think over here it was really simple. You just buy in those 20 moving averages. Then it stops that. It goes to the 50. I can't even say that the 50 held it here, because did it? No, just randomly went down to 150. So I'd trade this one psychologically, and that is draw all of your $10 ranges. So one of the things I do with this, I just draw every $10 range. And why am I doing that? Because I would just be basically thinking that there was retail traders all over this, based on the stock, based on I know how much I get asked about it. So, and I would put big red lines or something on 50s. I'd probably line up 20s. And I'd line up, of course, the 100s. So all of these levels would be my key levels of resistance and support when I find areas. If we break through 202, I don't even think 210 stops it. I think it goes like a 220. So 20s, 50s, 100s. I don't really think there's any other way of looking at it because of the nature, again, of the instruments. Like Tesla. Well, let's look at Tesla. Tesla often doesn't trade on anything but crazy psychology. You know, yes, it was hugging the 20 here. Very nice trading. Kind of still hugging the 20. Stops hugging the 20. Barely hugged the 50 here twice. And it's like, again, back to its own thing. So with Tesla, it broke and closed above the 463. A very key psychological. Putting huge pressure on that 500 multiple times. Hit the previous resistance. And now we're waiting for true rocket ship potential. So all you're doing here is you're just putting an alert. Take the all-time high, keep your alert there, go down to the smaller time frames, find a time frame it didn't break it on, 4 hour, 1 hour, whatever, probably 4 hour for me, and then when it closes above, if you want to get involved in a bit of a gamble, I guess that's a go sign. The other alternative is you wait for a pullback, but the problem is that Tesla doesn't pull back. It showed over here, it doesn't like pulling back. Straight into the next gap fill. And for take profits on these kind of things, again, the 50s and the 100s for Tesla, it likes to go towards those zones. Thanks so much for coming out as well, guys. We've got 514 concurrent viewers here. We're still about an hour and a half away from open as well. So that's a pretty big audience. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. Hopefully you're learning a few things. Remember, have a chat with the community. Ask me any questions you might have. Happy to answer them. And of course, we're here to learn and always improve. You'd be surprised how much we improve just by going through stuff together. I improve all the time just by, just thinking of something logical. And I think, well, that makes sense. If something makes a little bit of sense and it statistically becomes more likely over an event, it's probably worthwhile doing. Homer8 YouTube says BTC correlation is interesting with Square. Yeah, that makes some sense, man. Cool. See, I don't know about that one, but it does make some sense. You think about it. Square, the way it, of course, is going to make money. There are obviously leaders in transactions. They allow, I assume, crypto as well. So the thing is, for Square, of course, it's going to move with that market. So therefore, you probably can correlate the price. If you're wondering how to do that as well, one of the things you can do with TradingView is you can load up like Square, let's say, and then you can compare, put in Bitcoin. This is why it's pretty good software. The main reason I use this, by the way, is because I don't like having to use so many programs. Like stock in Australia, we use Iris. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, guys. It's not like the American trading systems. So, there's got bad charting. So then you want to use one, if you're going to be TA, just one charting software is good if you can get all the instruments. You certainly can do so here. So we'll use, I guess, Bitphoenix, whatever. And what we'll probably do is go to a more significant time frame. Probably go to a weekly and have a look at the correlation here. So there was a decline followed by the pickup, almost identical times. Let's have a look at the daily. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's some correlation. Obviously, the decline here, decline in Bitcoin. Not crazed correlation. There's probably better correlators you can do here. But, yeah, all right, fair enough. Maybe if I flick it round as well. Always interesting to try these techniques, though. Jennifer Cole says, do you only do this on Mondays? I do, Jennifer. I also do usually when the printing press comes out and it's a time that isn't 5 a.m. Australian, I get involved on that. So that's the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's speeches. And we always do generally as well a non-farm payroll special live stream. And that happens one time every month. I'd like to do it more, but look, let's face it, it's 12 o'clock. And, I do have things to do on the Australian market in the morning. And I also make videos as well for you guys and everything else I do. So, yeah, it's just a bit tough. It gets easier when we go back out of daylight saving. But I do appreciate all the support. Jack Dorsey, CEO of Square, is a Bitcoin supporter. Yes. Thank you very much, Tycoil06. Mike Liu, what are your thoughts on XLV? We have some other stocks we need to get over as well, but we'll have a quick look at this. So this is obviously healthcare sector. Very cool to be doing analysis of healthcare sectors and sectors in general. Let me actually just bring up something for everybody. You can use this app. It's pretty cool. It's free too. Some long-time viewers will know what I'm about to bring on the screen. Let me make sure I'm logged in. Yeah, I think I am. All right, so this is Koifin. It's very cool. You can actually do all your little sector kind of over time, see how sectors have been going, whole bunch of other things. This is a cool app. I got to contact the guy who owns it, talk to him a bit. But yeah, very, very awesome to be able to do sector analysis through here. Look at that energy. Look at how much it's come up. But yeah, I like using this. You can look at even 5-year data and all sorts of things. Look at how well technology's done, especially since the crisis. Really puts it in perspective. But very, very cool to do sector analysis. Once you've done sector analysis, then bring up your TA. If you're interested in a sector due to that, Koifin, quick search, find the sector you want. Next thing you do, bring in XLV. Then what you can do is you can say, well, is it on support? Well, yeah, pretty much. Let's have a look at the daily here. What a great little zone, yeah? Pullback, breaks out, closes above. A lot of bearish, weird candles here. Barely holding any bullish candles, which is strange. But it certainly broke out above this 110. It's come back, hit a 20 exponential. And this should be technically a decent buying zone. That has me concerned that it keeps bearing every single time. It barely holds a bullish candle here. That's unusual. It's actually really unusual. So little bullish candles. Usually I'd like to see like a bullish candle. Just keeps gapping higher. Bullish candle, you know, maybe a little bullish candle, then some bearish ones back down. Makes sense. Normal pullback. That's weird. But anyway, yeah, it's back on the resistance highs. Not bad. And then, of course, if it keeps coming down, well, you know your key sectors are going to be your 1, 0, kind of 4, and then 100 flat. 100 flat was really good for a while. Shane Coble says, oh, odd $20. Shane, thank you very much, man. Thanks, Yoda Tom, for your time. No worries, Shane. I assume you may be off for the night as well. Pretty late here in Odd. So thank you very much, Shane. Always supporting the community and, of course, the channel. Appreciate that, man. So if we have a quick look around the broader markets here, let's have a look at the pre-market coming into the stock. We've got Regeneron, we've got Crown Castle. We're searching by basically 20 billion and plus. This is Webull. There's a link in the description below if you're interested in getting a couple of free stock or whatever and signing up. And yeah, it looks like it's mostly a little bit tech, crypto kind of stuff. Maybe Square moves with crypto as well. Tesla up 1.71, putting pressure on that top side. Boeing really has been a lot of money rotating into this recently, still trading very, very high, around that 200. Previously, it was quite crazy. If we go look at the market down here, DocuSign still struggling. So that's come down a little bit recently, Shopify and others. So go through some more stocks here. We've got done Tesla, we've got Grub, Microsoft, and NVDA. NVDA, my own pick. I just wanted to have a look at it. Quickly load up AMD first. All right, now I know where that is. Let's go to NVIDIA. I think this stock is certainly going to struggle a little bit more than people think off this price. Anyone see those AMD cards? They were pretty good. AMD is on fire with their stuff right now, and I think that's going to start eating into NVIDIA a little bit. So NVIDIA's got a clear resistance just below 590. Always set an alert, leave it there, time bomb it, basically just have it there for a very, very long time. And what we've got here is probably a very small time frame, kind of little support resistance. So what are we, 525. So we've got 523 support, 523 support, and then of course a little bit of resistance up here. Not looking so good, not looking so hot. This is where I usually choose not to trade. I'm not interested in either side right now. And for me, I'd be just targeting these kind of lows. So I'd probably put like a 500 alert in just randomly. And then of course the 475. Nothing there on NVIDIA, I don't think. Sometimes there isn't. From a trader's perspective, not an investor. Different kind of thing. Grub, got some questions about this one as well. Let's go to the higher time frames, always worthwhile on these things. So Grub, very nice double bottom here on the pullback, which happened obviously before this whole crisis. Technically, usually this would be bullish, 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 but it happened so long ago. So Grub's not looking too healthy. You want to have a support underneath this line here, being the 67. If it cannot hold 67 and the 50 exponential, I say it goes down here. 2 zones to fill there. Pretty likely to do it as well. So that's the 58 back in there if it gets underneath this 67. In the middle of nowhere right now. $7.77, US $4 for another coffee. Thank you, Sandola. Always appreciate your support, man. Have we done Google? No, we haven't. Terry Chu says they have IC problems, NVIDIA, till March. Yes, they do have a few problems with a whole bunch of things there, don't they, Terry? We certainly can do Google. We'll take a look at Alphabet right now. So you wanted sound like GOOG, so we'll take a look at this one. Very strong breakout. This has been in a holding pattern for some time. It usually wasn't that strong, and then of course recently it's had this big move up. Weekly doesn't really show us anything. We hit the 1800, found resistance. Now we're starting to trade in a range. Got to go down to the 4 hour to have a look at what's going on. Again, 1800, just the resistance. 1727, if we call it a support. Previous resistance, support. It's in the middle of the zone, 1746 open. So for me, I would look at a close below this zone. So it comes down. Potential close below this zone, triggers further selling. I'd be then looking, I usually don't necessarily look at this stock. I think it trades kind of like the Nasdaq, or it trades like the S&P in many ways, most of the time. So what I do is I just look at the S&P analysis. If it's shorting and it shorts to a range, then what I'll do is I'll go to the S&P analysis. I'll find where I expect it to go down to. And then when the S&P hits and triggers that level, I go straight over to the stocks that I want. I see whether they're all synergizing with support zones, and I buy those areas. That's what I usually do. Johnny Bravo says, I need to get a USB powered coffee machine that's activated with every donation. I probably do, Johnny. I probably do. Especially during these times. Microsoft, yep, we'll do that one. So yeah, Google, just in that little bit of a zone. Microsoft's traded very nicely off 200. I can tell you that straight away. 200, what a great psychological, yeah? Probably going towards it now. But if it did find weakness today and it got under this little 210 here, we're trading at 210.79, probably goes back to the 200. Which would be cool if you're wanting to pick it up. Little 210 support here on the smaller time frames. Go down to a 1 hour. Yeah, 210 support. So 210s on support into the open. Series of little bits of lower kind of peaks here. There's certainly a lower peak. The bulls did not have any control here. If you're looking at the bull side, all you're looking for is a little break above this zone on the smaller time frames. For day traders, all you're looking at is a pickup, close above here, gets through the 50 exponential at the same time, and that triggers, of course, back into probably a 218 to 219 zone. A little bit of a couple of sneaky dollars there. But bears under this zone, close below, triggers down to 200. My thoughts on Microsoft right now, I'd say. Robert Arnold, ticker tops. Are you talking about like tick charts, man? Tell me more, Robert. Are you talking about putting on like a tick chart and then having a look at tops and bottoms and analysis on it? That's where I started. I remember the first trade I ever put on. Way too many contracts on a tick chart. Way too many contracts. Didn't actually know what they were. I accidentally pressed 20. It was pretty funny. I remember it cost me about $400 brokerage. I was like, what? $400? What the hell? What'd I do? That was back in the GFC. So here, Intel. Yeah, so a stock like Intel, I would never buy it, even though crazy good support at 44. And the main reason is I don't love sitting in a stock that's going to take ages to recover. So Intel are behind right now, no question, fundamentally. There's many reasons why they're down here. So for me, let's say it trades in this range for a while. The longer it trades in this range, I just set alerts outside or slightly above. And I'm okay as an investor to wait until it gets above these zones. And when it does, I buy it. Because I know that at that point, the fundamental shift has happened for Intel. At this point though, if we go down to like a 4 hour, what you'll notice is that Intel super support around 44, but it's struggling right now to really get any higher. So I wouldn't be surprised at all for Intel to chop in this zone for some time. Oh, penny stocks. Oh man, don't take me to penny stocks, guys. I don't really do penny anymore. My only thing that I always say to people, if you're in penny stocks and you're wanting to make quick dollars and this and that, the best thing to do is always look at filings, look at, FDA approvals, and I like health. I like drugs, pharmaceuticals, health, those kind of ones. You get great payoffs. What I don't do is I never go with mining, exploration. It's so hard to understand. You have to become like some kind of crazy person that understands everything about the engineering of it all. So I think the easiest way is pharma, healthcare, pharma, marijuana, whatever, those kind of things. Albero says, we already know from years ago. What's that one in relation to, man? You're talking about Intel being behind for a little bit? All right, so a few ones. We've got Kroger wanting to have a question. We'll definitely look at that, see what we can learn there. Siddharth says, Gordon Moore must be disappointed in what Intel has become. Intel's super disappointing. They used to be but they've had it before. They've done this before. They had a big mess up in the early 2000s, mid to 2000s. They were super behind, and then they turned it around. So let's hope. Pavel, good to see you here. Thank you very much for coming on in. So we have UPS that's wanting to be looked at. A lot of these a lot of these delivery things like FedEx and stuff have done well. Very big bullish runs. I always just go with these as they come to the 20 moving average. So my call on these ones has always been, when you have a stock that gets crazy carried away, it usually likes to pull back to the 20 moving average on the weekly. And at this stage, that seems to be what it's doing. So we've got a 0.79 reading coming into the pre-market. We will look at the pre-market again in just a moment. Very strong support all the way across this 156. Let's bring that up. Probably 155, I guess it is. Support, support, support. Most likely going to be some form of support again. Remember, what are we seeing if it gets through? We've got a peak, got a trough, got a lower peak. If we get underneath and close, that's going to lead to serious, significant selling. But obviously, if we hold this level, that's beautiful. And as a bull, if you ever get through 170 again, you're holding it longer term. Very bullish if it gets back through this zone. In fact, so bullish, it'll bust the top off of this previous peak. So if that happened, what I've got drawn here on the right-hand side, very likely every time when this happens, it busts the previous high. So you don't actually have to sell at the high. You can keep holding it because of the nature, again, of the momentum and what it's done beforehand. All right, we'll go to Kroger and then we'll go to broader markets. So there's actually quite a few pullbacks here in the markets. Some things, this is a good zone. Nice. Weekly bullish hammer followed by a slightly bullish candle here. That's good. I'd look at the fundamentals a little bit on this one. All looking pretty strong. Above 33. What is that? Let's bring that up. It's one of the first charts we looked at. It's pretty good, actually. So 33. I'd love to see it above the week. I'd put that 33, 35, I guess. I think anything above 33, though, that's going to be pretty strong buying pressure. Like the weekly, like the level. Nice. Into 35 at that point. Cool. Not bad. Sometimes I get a little bit excited. It's not bad. I quite like that one. Sakolo says, thank you so much for the TA. No worries, man. Thank you so much for being here and obviously watching and supporting the channel. Village Beer Garten Restaurant FB Stefan. Wow, that's a big name, man. Morning, did you cover BLNK yet? Well, we should be going over to broader markets, but because you have such a long name, I'm going to have a look at this stock. This stock is on a rocket ship, man. Pre-market 16%, finished 23.6%. That is the rocket ship, and no doubt due to some kind of fundamental news. So far away from all moving averages. My God, what moving average is it following? A 15-minute 20. Wow. That's an aggressive trend. So basically, you're looking at 15-minute, maybe 20s. So it's going to open up here, and the moving average will come along with it. Probably pulls back to the 15-minute 20 and then buys up until it doesn't. But that's probably going to be the main signal. Very, very aggressive if this is the stock you're talking about. Where does it stop? What's previous history tell us? Oh man, that actually looks a bit like a pennant. Well, at least there's a nice amount of consolidation here. I'd be probably taking the full break range. Let's see if that... So take the break range. Because I'm using log here, you'll notice it changes. It's kind of already done its thing, and then it's still going up. No, just straight into the highs. Previous 30 bucks. So 30 bucks, man. Not bad. It's on a rocket ship. It will find resistance just before 30 bucks, most likely. Roberto, what are your thoughts on NVDA? Yeah, we had a look at that before, man. NVIDIA in a holding pattern, very tough to trade right now. Standard support, standard resistance. You'll be able to look at it. TCOL06 says, thanks for Kroger. Bought some in the dip last week. Good luck, man. Looks pretty good. Looks not bad. I like the bullish hammers followed by a little bit of momentum on the close. Shows that it's not a fake move. For anyone that's new on the channel as well, I'll just draw this for everybody so you understand this concept. Talk about it all the time, but no problems still understanding it. So that is the worst candle ever. But if you have this bullish hammer candle, yeah, what you want to do, let's say it has a little wick up here. You don't just buy it. You don't just go, yeah, buy. You put a little bit higher and then you put a pending order here, okay? And what that does is it means that usually sometimes what happens here, we've all been there, it goes down, it does this, scares the crap out of us, and then might come up and then go through, or it might completely fail. But by putting it above, usually by percentage of the candle length, some percentage, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 5, whatever, we eliminate the risk of just getting in by 1 pip or in by 1 cent or whatever, and then it going against us. We want the slingshot momentum to continue. So we put our pending order above here. We can do that at that point. And if it triggers, awesome. Now stop obviously a percentage below. The other thing though that people don't necessarily understand is that the bearish side is just as strong here. So if you get the bearish candle underneath this wick, so the candle continues and closes below, that is such a good trade to the short. All the little stop losses under here get destroyed. So that's also very, very strong. I like the candle either way. Zalev says, what do you think about Workhorse Tom and about those cruise liners now? CCL, RCL, etc. Look, I'm still not a fan of cruise liners, but there's trades in them. I'm just not investing in them. I think there's other ways to make money. It's just my choice. I've talked about it quite a few times, Zalev. We'll have a quick look at Workhorse, because you bring this on up. So came off that support last time. We talked about this level. Nice buying, by the way. I think you were in this. So yeah, you had the faith in the 15 bucks, I believe, which is good because it bounced off it very, very hard. Huh. Wow, that's rare. That's a pretty rare candle. That's a good candle to buy off, actually. Gap up, price stays within the previous body. Very strong candle with the gap up. That's pretty significant buy, actually. But yeah, we've got 2050 cross here, and at this stage, obviously, it all looks good. Probably looking at 30 bucks again for Workhorse. I don't see why it stops now. It's on the hype train, back into 30. We'll find some resistance here though. Okay, back over to the markets. Let's have a look. We haven't looked at the broad markets for a little bit here on the stream. We've just been looking at so much TA. So we'll refresh this one. We'll go through what's going on in the broader markets. VIX down. Dollar index still testing that 92. We'll look at that one live in a second. Very important level, guys, 92. Dow Jones, 29411. S&P 500, 3575. Nasdaq, almost 12,000, so 11,947. And the Russell actually testing that resistance at the 1800. Will it hold it? I mean, this is a Monday. Monday coming into Thanksgiving. Usually a glorious time in the markets this week. Notoriously a bullish market week. But in a year of really strange events, will it be? I'm not too sure about that. Very interesting. Go over to our charts here. Looks like we got quite a decent little sell-off there on Ethereum in terms of it fell off fairly hard on the 5-minute chart just then. It's getting bought up fairly strong. This is the thing why, you know, people say that you got to be pretty strong when it comes to holding crypto. It's because it does have big moves. It can often drop 10-20% very, very quickly. What else is going on? So we're still testing the 92 on the dollar index. That for me is going to be my first thing I check tomorrow before even the markets. I want to see where the daily is on the dollar index. S&P 500 is still trapped within our little zone there of 35.50 and 35.86.85. Looking at that as the range of the day. Very important breaks and closes either way of that range. Significant time frame, 1 hour. So we're definitely watching that. Worthwhile checking it out. And probably I think that's mostly what we're noting here. We'll go over to the pre-market, look at the Webull pre-market specials. Roku, Square, Hershey. I'm not that big a fan of the Hershey chocolates, honestly. Alibaba doing all right, 1.68. We had a quick look at that before. Walt Disney, one of our favorites, above 140. Yeah. Finally, yeah. Finally. People started mocking me on this stream because I was in the Disney and I was sitting there waiting for my 20 bucks. But it's holding above there at this stage. Obviously the vaccine news is good for Disney. Anyone been watching that Mandalorian? Not bad. It's pretty good. Probably the only thing holding up Star Wars right now. And Disney Plus. Amazon coming in a little bit positive. So nothing too much to note. I'm still kind of scared of Zoom myself, but we did see potential at that when it kind of crashed the other day and got all the way through. I remember a few weeks ago, people were just talking about Zoom, and now no one even asked me about it. It's interesting how things change. Robert says, shipping season, look at ticket stops. JJW loves Mandalorian and Disney. Good work, JJW. I'm a fan. Unexpected Visit also thinks it's a great series. Yeah, I think it's pretty damn solid. Chris Brooks, what is your thoughts on DXY almost dropping below 92? Do you think US dollar will expect it to fall towards 89? Yes, that would be my thought process, Chris. 92, significant level. Close below that will trigger sells most likely to the 89, yeah. Good analysis if you did that one yourself. Looking at those weekly monthlies. Very nice. Well done. Crystal KK says SP500. Yes, we looked at SP500. Thought process on SP500 remains the same. We're on the smaller time frame here. On the 1 hour futures. And we're basically just trapping below the lows and up here at the kind of highs. It's in a range for sure. Gareth says, can't wait for them to bring out other shows. Yeah, me too, Gareth. Like, it'd be good to see them actually bring on some stuff. Zalif says, any thoughts on Futu, Asia's Robinhood, good quarterly rocket ship Inc.? I don't know anything about it, Zalif. That being said, all these, if you can trade them and stuff, if there's stock that you can trade, then yeah, it could be good. Let's type it in. I can't unfortunately know every single thing, but yeah, these type of companies are definitely game changers. I'd say they're big disruptors. Like I trade with big banks, and I can tell you they are so bad compared to, you know, what people are using in America, like Webull, Robinhood. Honestly, they're at the apps that Robinhood and Webull are in many ways better than the big bank ones. They're not better professionally, but they're really good from the amount of data you get. Absolutely. Very awesome. Yeah, so we had a look at gold before. Same real thing on gold. Surprising that it's weakening here. I think that's just a huge amount of leverage coming out of gold and going into other asset classes. I remain with big alerts just set on two sides, and that is 1850, and then we've got our 1900. So basically a 1900 and 1850, and I guess you could have your 1880 as a resistance. Now it found resistance and busted down again. But very surprising how weak gold's been. Should be technically strengthening, shouldn't it? No worries, Chris. Appreciate you too, man. Cuddy says, what do you think about big commerce? What particular one? Cuddy. Faye says, Tom, what do you think about EV hype now? XPEV going crazy. EV hype, I guess, like, I see it as hype with the cooler. Yeah, I like trading it. I just don't invest in it at these levels. If I was in cheap, then yeah. But pick your companies, look at cash flow, do some fundamental analysis, and don't just get too, if you're going to hold them for investments. Like Tesla does have some good patents, it has some good tech, those kind of things. Make sure you're doing that. Otherwise, to trade them and have stop losses. Can we look at Zoom? Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair. Should be looking at Zoom considering it's actually not bad. Nice little break above here. So Zoom, that's a decent, usually what you would think is a decent kind of a zone that it got through. It's failed to even hold it. I mean, we're down 1.49%. So we'll go here to the daily, and let's just start in the weekly here for Zoom. So Zoom hit that 20 exponential, very important point. So as we always say, usually you see buying the first time off a super bull kind of move off the 20 exponential weekly. The one you should have, 20 exponential. So it is buying off that zone a little bit, and that's important. Go down to the daily. Okay, we're hitting 2 daily moving averages here. Ooh, nasty. That usually sell zone. I wouldn't be surprised then at all if we see further selling pressure. Tough to get through here. Same thing we did before. We get a literal fib of the whole thing. So we take the fib of the whole move down. Check that level, see if it's a 38.2. Not quite. But if that was a 38.2 and a 50, even stronger resistance there. But I think it's going to struggle through this zone. Tough area for it to get through. What I'd be doing is two things. I would say if I was looking at this bullish, put that level down, 445 kind of area, wait for a quick close above, pulls back, pick it up where the dynamic resistance right now is the 2050. It'll still be kind of here, yeah? It'll be acting as dynamic support then, and then you can take it long. That's like a conservative entry, pretty standard. Sell side, obviously, it's already kind of found its resistance and started selling off that zone. Pretty cool zone. 2050 cross, says Dr. Horton. Yeah, about to happen. Euro US dollar, we covered that funky at the beginning of the session. Go back to the first couple of minutes, probably about 3-4 minutes in. Covered that fully. Same thoughts, it won't have changed. JJW says zooming all the way up and zooming all the way down. Yeah, most likely a semi-overpriced stock, this one, for the longer term hold. There's a few stocks during this crisis that I think moved so hard that there is no way they can even justify the fundamentals. They're really just now trading off sentiment. Hey, Johnny, that's good. Johnny says, try out the paper trading competition on Webull. This is good for some people to learn. It's weekly and you win Amazon credit for positive returns. Been practicing short selling, which I've been terrible at. Kind of fun to me, though. Hey, not bad to at least paper trade the short selling. Short selling is so tough, man. So, very, very tough. All right, guys. Well, actually, look, what I'm going to have to do is I appreciate 511 of you coming out, but next week we're going to have to resume back to going all the way to 130. The only reason I can't do it today is I have a pre-appointment that I've got to do tomorrow morning, and I've got to get a video out for you guys. So I might have to cut a little bit short. I will be going just quickly through a summary here, though, of the markets, and I do appreciate everyone coming out. But I can't. I start at 11, and we usually go to 130. But I don't think I'm going to be able to go all the way today. Next week, yeah, we're going all the way. Don't worry. So basically, markets, 35, quick recap here. S&P, 35.50, 35.86 resistance. In the range, definitely look at it. Dollar index, check it tomorrow. All currencies, look at the smaller time frames, moving averages, look at the 1-2 touches. If you want to get involved in the crazy action, that would be one of the ways you could do so. Gold, of course, 1850, 1900. Silver, pretty much. Oh, let's bring up silver. Silver is every 50 cent matters, but I'm still fairly bullish on silver. Sitting at the 24 right now. If it gets through the 24, closes below this kind of like 96, then consider it probably selling back down to 23. That'll be in unison with gold probably getting through 1850 as well. So that's what I'd be doing there. Silver, 23, should see some buying pressure come back into it. And all other stocks are in really interesting levels, but not a huge amount of movement into the market. Remember, first hour, guys, traps everywhere. The retail traders, we get involved. We get hyped for the Monday. Future session looks great. Next hour is usually not that great. Can I demonstrate that? Possibly. Let me see if I can get this up. I'll see if I can get it up for you. All right. Well, what did I just do then? Didn't want to do that. Okay, here we go. This should be a couple of trading sessions. I don't know if I have last Mondays here on CoinFin. But basically what generally has been happening is you see a buy in the morning followed by some selling after that first hour. And then remember, the close is the key. And just look at these closes recently. Let's zoom that up. Bring this out. So the closes recently, selling at the end of the day, selling at the end of the day, selling at the end of the day. And then before that was buying at the end of the day. So we have a decent amount of selling at the sessions throughout the last 4 sessions. Remember, Wall Street are the guys that sell at the end. So just be careful there. If you're, gearing up or anything like that, be careful. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry to cut it short a little bit today, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for all the subscribes. Thanks very much for the chat. I guess support, the trading community, everybody out there. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll see you next Monday live, or of course, follow us and check out our videos covering the markets. We'll probably be doing as much as we can over the next couple of weeks, but I have a few interesting things that we're going to improve in the back end for these streams. And I think next year, especially 2021, it's going to become a whole new level of awesome TA and awesome learning resources. So I hope to make this one of the, best on YouTube if possible. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next Monday. Same time, same place, all the way through to the live market. Bye for now.